So one of the first things that you'll notice that when you walk into a groom's or bride's home, or you're walking into a hotel room, you usually have a big light source that is already there. Obviously, I'm talking about window light. Spoiler alert, it was always on the screen. So you'll work out how to use it and actually refine it, because it is a big light source, but if you actually put someone on the fringe of it, you can actually make it look like a smaller light source. If you draw back blinds, you can make it look like a small light source, and all these different things. Remember what we've always discussed, and that is we liken light to water. So if you walk into a bedroom and the blinds are drawn open wide, there's a big light source. It's a big shower head, right? We're actually illuminating and flooding whoever we're working with. If we pull back the blinds and there's a sliver of light, now that light source becomes smaller, like I said. Now, if we pull back the blinds again, then it's open up wide. If it's a shower head, we liken light to water, and it's flooding the person. If I have someone on the fringe of that light, then less water is hitting them, because of course, as we've discussed, light travels in straight lines. So depending on where the subject is in relation to the light and where I am in relation to the subject, we can make window light look very, very different. Now, there's countless examples. Make sure that you watch the wedding videos included in this bundle, and you will see how I use window light with guys and girls and parents and all those different things. Just to show you a couple of examples right now, here we have a flood of light. In fact, it wasn't really even a window. It was a whole wall of light, and there was a glass wall. Now, here I'm basically taking the first few photographs of Mary, and the light's flooding through. It's soft. The transition from highlight to shadow is not so great. Even still, though, I'm turning her body away from the light and the face back in. We have beautiful catch lights in the eyes, as you can see there. She's posed quite elegantly. Her shoulders are back. She's sort of leaning forward. But this is considered very, very soft and very, very flattering. So as you'd appreciate, the window is sort of right here. Right here, if that was her right there, big sort of wall of light here, and I'm actually standing in this direction. The more I stand over here, the more shadow I'm going to see, but also not forgetting in this particular case, this was a white room. So you've got a big wall of light, a big open window or glass wall and glass doors, lights flooding through, bouncing off that wall and sort of coming back, and that's why we get less shadow. But in this case, it works really well. It's very soft, it's very pretty, it's very flattering, and so on. Also very good for mature age skin. This is Mary's grandmother, and here we're shooting her on the broadside. And I believe there's no retouching on this, but it's quite soft, right? It actually works well for her. If I start to turn her towards this way, and maybe if the light source was a little bit smaller, then you would start to see a few more lines on her face, and just the fact that we're photographing mature age skin. Now, we've mentioned before that the more people that you have, the less options you have with lighting in terms of being so specific, unless you're going to do things afterwards in post-production. So here I am photographing. Here there's that basically glass wall and door over here. So really then the light is flooding this way. By pure angle and perspective, I get that light flooding on the two of them. But if now I'm photographing the bridesmaids, I'm going to put them there on the bedside and now photograph in this direction. So you see how all the light is flooding from the front, and there's not much shadow. There's a little hint of shadow here and here and here, but ultimately you look at the catch lights in the eyes, it's sort of slightly above the middle, but pretty much centered to the eyeball, and that is going to be your best friend when you're photographing with window light, because it's just easier. It's already existing. You don't have to work out the value. But don't forget, where you place the subject in relationship to the window, it will change everything dramatically. The photograph to my left here, where I'm actually sitting in front of, this was photographed with window light. And the one on the right was actually photographed, well, actually it was photographed with a strobe, but that emulated a window light. I just had her on the fringe of it. So if you can see that little tickle of light, you can make window light look small, you can make it look broad and big. That depends on the way you use it. So make sure, like I said, you look at the actual weddings included in this bundle, and you can watch exactly how I work with the window. But it's a great place to start because it's existing, you sort of have no choice. But you do have a choice of where you stand, where you place your subject, and how far you go. In this example, this is not not actually a window, it's a door, but let's liken it to a window. We've simply just opened up that door, or put him close to that window per se. And then all it was I turned his body towards a light source, as we've discussed in previous segments, and then I started his face and his angle of his face by looking at me, and then just kept on turning his face until his eye socket is completely lit. Then if I expose for that highlight on his face, in other words, I want detail in the brightest highlight on his face, then everything's going to go quite darker. I've deliberately placed his profile in that little corner so I give it a little bit of a contrast. And this light spilling here was actually the light coming from that doorway as well. But again, we're considering it sort of window light. So if let's say you're picking up this sort of this bundle for the very first time as a photographer and haven't really studied any other photographers or work or anything like that, window light is a great place to start. Simply put, place a practice subject right in front of that window and then move all around. Work out what happens when you simply change their angle, your subject's angle, and where you stand and the perspective, and you'll be amazed on how well you can use it. It's somewhat less intimidating because the light's already existing, it's already there. We don't really have to work out the value, we're sort of just, the light is there, the sun's coming through, whether the sun's hitting it directly, whether it's just flooding with open shade and that becomes the light source. But just remember that if you liken light to water, this is a big shower head, and depending if you want to get everyone wet on one side or the other, you will basically stand in different positions. So practice with window light, it'll make everything easier.